Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Lucifer Volume 5, Inferno. In the last volume we ended with a tease that Lucifer was now going to have to be going to hell to do a duel with Amenadiel, something that they planned a year prior. Well, that year was coming up and it was time for the duel. And that is where we are going to kick off when we begin this volume. So let's dive into it. Volume 5, Inferno. Lucifer Volume 5, Inferno, written by Mike Carey, art by Peter Gross, Ryan Kelly, Dean Ormston, and Craig Hamilton. This volume covers issues 29 through 35. Lucifer issue 29, Inferno, part 1 of 4. Lucifer must now journey to hell, to Ephraim, to face the angel Amenadiel in a duel, as they had planned to do 1 year prior, and now that year is coming up. Lord Aurochs, ruler of Ephraim, is in charge of setting up the duel, and making all of the logistical arrangements. The duel is going to be a big show. There will be 1 million demons in attendance, so there is a lot to take care of. Lucifer is currently lacking most of his powers, as the Japanese storm god Susano has made off with that power, trapped away magically within 2 feathers. Lucifer, before he departs to hell, tasks Mazikeen and her Lilim warriors to pursue Susano and retrieve his power. As long as Mazikeen can destroy the feathers that Susano has, everything stored in them will flow back into Lucifer, even if he is leagues away. So Mazikeen is given her orders and she travels on. Meanwhile, in hell, the angel that rules hell, Remiel, is meeting with Lord Aurochs and Amenadiel. The 3 of them are scheming how they can screw Lucifer over, ensure he dies in the duel, or maybe he doesn't even live long enough to make it to the duel. They are unsure if Lucifer has his powers or not, as they know he is weakened after his fighting with Ibasanos. So they want to test him by sending 3 assassins and seeing how well they do. Or maybe even best case scenario, those assassins will manage to kill Lucifer. Remiel has also arranged for Christopher Rudd, the human and new Duke of Glai that we met in the A Dalliance with the Damned story arc. He wants Christopher to host Lucifer before the duel, and he chose Christopher as Christopher is a man with little allies and is not very well liked, so Lucifer politically will not be able to make many moves. Later on, we see Lucifer has arrived in hell, in Glai, at Christopher Rudd's fort. Christopher greets Lucifer, and they walk around inside the fort. While walking around the fort square there, the 3 assassins sent by Aurochs, Amenadiel, and Remiel, they arrive and attack Lucifer, surprising him with their knives. One of the attackers even manages to stab Lucifer in the back, and Lucifer bleeds. But the attackers get killed. Lucifer even rips one of their faces off with his bare hands. But Lucifer, he is bleeding from this attack, which is a sign that he is missing some of his powers. Well, Christopher brings Lucifer somewhere afterwards where he can take care and dress his wounds. Afterwards, Christopher gives Lucifer a tour of the remainder of his fort. As they talk, Lucifer shares with Christopher that he expects another assassin to come for him. Over in Lord Aurochs' manor house, Lord Aurochs, Remiel, and Amenadiel, they get a report about the 3 assassins' assassination attempt. It failed, but Lucifer, he bled. Remiel takes this as a positive sign. He says, "You see, I was right. Lucifer's weak." Amenadiel says, "Yeah, but he's also still alive. Your assault failed. It's scant consolation that he had to change his shirt." We now jump over to Mazikeen. Her and the Lilim warriors, including a tiny demon known as Elohim Shear, also known as Mazikeen's arrow, They are all pursuing the Japanese storm god Susano that has Lucifer's power trapped in 2 feathers. They are following the trail of some storms in the sky as a way to lead them to Susano, as the storms almost act like a map to him. As they get closer to Susano's location, Susano sends a powerful storm after Mazikeen and the warriors, with rain and lightning and wind. Mazikeen and her allies attempt to push their way through the storm, push their way through some tough rivers and flooding. As the storm becomes more violent, Mazikeen gets separated from the lot of her warriors. Eventually, Mazikeen is separated from everyone except for Elohim Shear. As Mazikeen pushes on, she eventually sees Susano heading to a large house surrounded by a moat of fire. Susano, he crosses a bridge to enter the home, and the bridge then retracts behind him. But Mazikeen, she manages to run and jump and get across that bridge just in time. As Susano walks through the home, he meets a large demon named Scoria. Scoria tells Susano, "You must understand that I detest company, all company. Your very presence makes my skin crawl." Susano replies, "I had heard this, great artificer, nor do I come here lightly or willfully, but you yourself gave me leave in my admiration for your work." Scoria responds, "I said you could have sanctuary here if you could deliver what you promised. Have you?" Susano answers, "See for yourself. Oh, the gemstones and the precious metals will come later, but the substance of our agreement is here." As Susano says this, some robot automatons owned by Scoria, they manage to pounce and grab Mazikeen, who was following Susano from behind. So Susano was merely acting as bait for Mazikeen, knowing that she would follow him. He was leading her here, where she could then be captured by Scoria and his robots. So with the robots now holding Mazikeen down, Scoria gives them an order and says, "Yes, the substance of our agreement. Bring her forward into the light. I have waited so long to see you again, Mazikeen, that I could almost forgive you, but I suppose you'll have to be punished as an example to the other undutiful wives." That's right, from that line of dialogue, we learn Scoria has other wives, but apparently Mazikeen is his wife as well. Lucifer, issue 30, Inferno, part 2 of 4. Lord Aurochs recruits an assassin known as Braid. The assassin is to try and kill Lucifer, but also to infect him with a cherub angel known as Virtus. Virtus is mad and sick with paranoia and self-hatred, and its weakness affects all it touches. Elsewhere, Scoria shows Susano a great big machine made of many gears. As Scoria works the machine, time appears to move backwards. Scoria says, "It is the slipshod materials of reality that the clock manipulates directly, and it is not limited just to time." Susano is mildly impressed, but with his business done with Scoria, he wishes to leave. Scoria, he speaks in a language named Ruhak to his robots, giving them some kind of order. Susano is a little confused. Scoria explains, "I was speaking to the automaton. They respond only to Ruhak, the language of my demon forefathers. The demonstration I just gave you will have a destabilizing effect on the land around us. You cannot leave yet. When the third brass armature is at the vertical, they will ready supper. I'll see you then. Like you, I have other business that calls me first." Scoria, he then goes inside, and he walks over to Mazikeen. And then he taunts her, saying, You've changed your face. The new one makes a curious effect. Mazikeen is unflinching in her response to her supposed husband. She says, "Loosen my chains and then let's see what I can make of yours." Scoria has his robots remove Mazikeen's clothes, and then he proceeds to whip and torture her until she bleeds. After he has done his long torture session of Mazikeen, he returns to Susano. Scoria is upset. He built all these wondrous things like his machine and these robots, and he accomplished so much, but Mazikeen still mocked him. Even as he was beating her, she wouldn't stop her mockery. Scoria, he is so annoyed. He wants to show Susano and Mazikeen something great he has been building. He brings Susano and has his robots drag Mazikeen to another room in his basement about a mile down. Inside that room, there is a vast pool of liquid. Scoria announces, "What was Lucifer's rebellion compared to this? What has anyone done equal to this?" Susano, not sure what to make of it, says, "Celestial artisan, I see but do not comprehend. You must expound this marvel to me." Scoria continues, "Expound it, it's obvious. I dug into his mind. These are the thoughts of God." While that is going on, meanwhile, Lucifer himself talks with Christopher Rudd. The two share their many thoughts on different matters. Both of them are very cunning, intelligent men. As they talk, Lady Liss arrives. She is not here to see Christopher, though, whom she still resents for causing her to feel remorse now. But she is here for Lucifer. The two apparently had a little bit of a relationship in the past. She warns Lucifer of the plot against him by her father, Lord Aurochs, as well as Ramiel and Amenadiel. After she gives her warning, Lady Liss takes her leave. And as she heads back to her carriage to take her back home, Christopher runs after her to talk with her. He says, "Liss, I hurt you. Almost beyond bearing, I know. I cannot believe that you've come here as a friend." Lady Liss explains her motivations were not altruistic. She says, "My information comes with a price. If my father's treachery comes out and his brother's lords unseat him, my right to the succession may come into question. Should it come to a vote, both you and Lucifer will support my claim." Christopher, he says he will, but he cannot speak for Lucifer. Lady Liss then departs after refusing to shake Christopher's hand. Later that night, the assassin, Braid, sneaks into Christopher's fort. Braid kills some men along the way, and then he scales a high tower that he has deduced Lucifer is staying in. Braid makes his way to the top of the tower to a window, where indeed Lucifer is inside. Lucifer just invites Braid in though, he says, "The door is open, for what it's worth. I'd rather have you alive, given the choice. That way you can betray your employers." Braid to this says, "Brave words, but you've only 2 small weavings to protect you, Lucifer. Armies and citadels would not be enough." As Braid attempts to move in and attack Lucifer, he is stopped by some magical wards that slow him down. Braid, realizing it, says, "Ah, so this is the ward. The mighty morning star hiding behind hedge magics. But look now, Lucifer, at what was behind me." Virtus, the sick cherub that Braid was tasked with bringing along with him, it moves in to attack and infects Lucifer. The cherub now lives within Lucifer, infecting him with despair and weakness. Lucifer, weakened by the cherub, is now helpless to defend himself. Braid grabs Lucifer, and he is going to kill him. But Lucifer has a trick up his sleeve. Because he was forewarned of the assassin coming for him, him and Christopher set up a huge magical trap for Braid. Lucifer says a secret code word aloud, "Sisyphus." And then the tower they were in disappears. Lucifer, he is fine. He still has his wings and he manages to fly. But Braid, with the entire tower now disappeared, and the floor below him gone, begins falling down to the ground, and he falls all the way to his death. Lucifer explains to the falling braid, "The tower was made of spells, not stone. That was the making you sensed. Goodbye, assassin." After this confrontation, Lucifer returns to Christopher, and Christopher, he orders his servants that Braid's body be scraped off the ground and discarded. Christopher then wishes Lucifer a good night, as tomorrow will be a busy day. Lucifer issue 31, Inferno, part 3 of 4. In the northwest of Hell, at the border between Ephril and Amsath, a dueling ground is being built, a coliseum that will host the duel between Lucifer and Amenadiel. Lord Erox told the carpenters building the stadium that it had to hold 1,000,000 spectators. And I gotta say, 1,000,000 spectators is quite a lot to shove into a stadium. Right now on Earth, the largest stadium in the world is in India, and it supposedly holds 136,000 seated. After that, there's one in North Korea that holds 114,000, and then one in Michigan that holds 108,000. And they want to get to 1,000,000. That's ambitious. Some of the demons there are watching the construction happen, eagerly anticipating the match. In their minds, this was hell against heaven, and everyone hoped that this time the issue would be settled properly. Lord Oryx then addresses the crowd with a scroll in his hand. He has Amenadiel by his side. Oryx says aloud, "I am Oryx of Ephril, and I stand as Lord Marshal here. Who speaks for Amenadiel of the Thrones?" Amenadiel there says, "Himself." Oryx continues, "And do you here abide by the challenge you have issued?" Amenadiel answers, "Yes, I do." Oryx then asks, "And who is it that speaks for Lucifer Morningstar?" And then there's silence. Oryx asks again, and then finally, Christopher Rudd rides into the stadium on a horse, and he yells, "I do! I speak for him." Oryx, looking at Christopher, says the respondent must answer the challenge, or his life is forfeit. Christopher explains, "Aye, my lord, I know that, but the respondent is indisposed." Lucifer, thanks to that tainted cherub that now lives inside of him, is very weak, and he is bedridden. It has infected his soul, and he cannot summon the will to move. Elsewhere, the two angels that rule Hell, Ramiel and Duma, have an argument. Duma wants to help Lucifer, but Ramiel does not. Despite their disagreements, the silent Duma decides to do what he wants to do, and he flies off to go to Lucifer's aid. Meanwhile, at the dueling grounds, Lord Aurochs is trying to dismiss the duel. He says that the rules are clear and Lucifer has not shown up. But two of the other demon lords beg to differ. They say, the rules allow for either name to be called thrice. Aye, 3 times with a full turn of the glass in between. Don't be too quick to give the game to heaven, Aurochs. Lord Aurochs reluctantly will follow these rules. While he has some downtime, Christopher Rudd speaks with Lord Aurochs. And through his conversation, he seems to be betraying Lucifer. He tells Aurochs, Lucifer's power is all but gone. If he enters the arena at all, he will try to avoid the angel Amenadiel for as long as he can. He told me that his servant Mazikeen is seeking to restore his strength. His aim will be to delay the fight until she succeeds. But from this, he cannot hide. Christopher then gives Lord Aurochs a small silver case with something inside of it. Aurochs, intrigued, asks, "What is it?" Christopher Rudd answers, "Something of Lucifer's that is now yours. Something that will yearn towards him wherever he is. It works by the magic of sympathies, my lord." Aurochs responds, You've found some of his hair or his blood, or the paring of a nail. Remarkable. It may not come to a fight, of course, but still, it will be good to have." So, with this silver box and whatever of Lucifer's is inside, it will kind of act like a homing device towards Lucifer. So if Lucifer does come to battle, Amenadiel will be able to track Lucifer down with it. After Christopher's talk with Lord Aurochs, Lady Lys overheard the conversation, and she slaps him in the face for betraying Lucifer. She says, "I should have remembered how eagerly you climbed over me to reach my father's favor." Elsewhere, we check back in on Scoria, Susano, and Mazikeen. Scoria has showed his machine that captures the mind of God. He explains how difficult it was to build. He says, "I used a drill so small, so very small, its tip a mountain of diamond, sharpened down to an invisible splinter." Scoria then turns to his wife and asks, "Still no words, my wife? Still no worship? Is your soul too shriveled to see the greatness of what I have done here? Look down! Can you guess what God is thinking of? Here, let me show you." Scoria then grabs Mazikeen and starts drowning her in the pool of God's thoughts. In the pool, Mazikeen sees God's thoughts, and he seems to be occupied with Lucifer and the Archangel Michael on his mind. When Scoria pulls Mazikeen out, he says, "Lucifer, yes, the spoiled bastard son of heaven, who covers you like a stallion and his witless brother Michael. Over and over again, Yahweh's favorite, who he taught to hate him. It's as if he's obsessed. As if he cannot even see the rest of what he has made. Nothing is real except for Lucifer and Michael." As Scoria is thinking, all of a sudden he notices that Susano has a knife inside the sleeve of his robe. Susano tries to explain it away, saying, "No, great Scoria, I was merely—" Scoria interrupts Susano and says, "You were my guest, and you would offer me violence?" Scoria, offended, now takes Susano as his prisoner and no longer just his guest. He then takes Mazikeen and Susano in another room. Scoria's automatons are holding Susano and tie him to a pillar, and then the automatons hold Mazikeen down. Scoria, he then gets ready to mount Mazikeen. He tells her, "A husband has rights, Mazikeen, solaces. Have you thought about them once? What if my seed were to die? What if all my greatness were to die? Well, it will not die. I will fill your womb by way of recompense." So Scoria is ready to rape Mazikeen and impregnate her with his seed, but before he does so, he doesn't want to wear this worker's man apron that he is wearing. He wants to wear something more ceremonial, so he goes in the other room to change. And while Mazikeen and Susano are alone, Mazikeen asks Susano, "Susano, if you destroy the feathers, we can make truce, and we could fight Scoria together." Susano contemplates this for just a quick second and answers, "My mother has tasked me to bring the feathers back intact, and once Scoria's passion is spent, I hope to find him more tractable. So I thank you for your consideration, but I decline." Mazikeen responds, "Very well, Susano, but remember that I offered." Elsewhere, Lucifer is still bedridden, but the angel Duma flies over to help Lucifer. Duma picks Lucifer up. Lucifer asks Duma to bring him to the pain fields. Duma does so, and as they enter the pain fields, Lucifer asks to be set down there where the blades are. So Lucifer, as some sort of gambit to somehow negate the cherub inside him, asks to be placed right through and on top of these blades. There, Lucifer punctures his chest with some sort of machinery. Later on, back at the dueling grounds, Lord Aurochs is still there, carrying on with the proceedings. Lucifer's name will be called out thrice, and then if he doesn't arrive, he will have forfeited the duel. Aurochs has already called out Lucifer's name twice and flipped this large hourglass. And finally, he has flipped it for the last time, and the sand has run out. So Lord Aurochs addresses the crowd and says, "I call upon Lucifer Morningstar for the third time. Will he respond to the challenge? Well, then in accordance with the laws of Ephraim, I proclaim him renegade to his oath. The duel and his life are forfeit. But before Lord Aurochs can finish, Lucifer finally arrives. Lucifer says, "Lucifer Morningstar speaks for himself. I am sorry to have delayed you, Lord Aurochs. Shall we begin?" And we see Lucifer is wearing a bloodied shirt. Lucifer issue 32, Inferno, part 4 of 4, the conclusion. The duel between Lucifer and Amenadiel is about to begin. A hush fell upon the crowd with 1,000,000 in attendance. Before the duel begins, Lord Aurochs gives Amenadiel that silver box that Christopher Rudd gave him. Inside the silver box is something of Lucifer's, some flesh or blood, and it will act like a lodestone to Lucifer. Aurochs and Amenadiel are expecting Lucifer to try and hide until Mazikeen can maybe restore the power to him. But with this device, Lucifer will not be able to hide. So the duel therefore begins. Although apparently the combatants don't start the battle in the arena together, they start at 2 separate points at a valley outside the arena, and the 2 points are 20 leagues apart, which I looked up on the internet, and that is apparently roughly 60 miles. So anyway, Lucifer and Amenadiel begin their duel, but they are separated to start, and they have to find each other. But thanks to the silver box that Amenadiel has, he has a way of tracking Lucifer down. And in the combat arena, they have some sort of magical big screen view so the crowd in attendance can watch the fight. While that is going on, we jump back over to Scoria. Scoria is wearing his ceremonial garb. He tells Mazikeen, "Look upon your husband in the fullness of his perfection. I will plant life in your body now." Susano, who is tied down there, looked away, for he did not want to watch. Mazikeen told Scoria, "I will not submit to your embrace." Scoria responds, "It is too great an honor for you, whore, but there are no other vessels here that will serve." We jump back over to the duel going on at that moment. Amenadiel has tracked Lucifer down, and he is beating the shit out of him, as Lucifer is powerless, and Amenadiel was able to track Lucifer down thanks to the silver box that Christopher Rudd gave them. Amenadiel gloats, "Look, it was this, a little of you in a silver box, charmed so that it would pull towards its source. The man Rudd betrayed you. You have no inspired loyalty, Morningstar. You have not inspired love." Amenadiel then shoves his fist inside Lucifer's chest, and he rips out Lucifer's heart. He will then soon proceed to eat the heart, thus winning the duel. We jump back over to Mazikeen and Scoria and Susano. Just as things looked dire for Mazikeen, she speaks the obscure Ruhak language that Scoria explained earlier. His robots require you to speak to them in if you want them to take orders. Well, Mazikeen happened to know this language as well, and she speaks to the automatons in Ruhak and tells them to grab on to Scoria's throat, to hold fast to his windpipe, and not let him speak. Mazikeen then explains to Scoria, "Because I am a woman, my father would not teach me Ruhak, but he spoke it often enough, Scoria, and I listened." She then gives further orders in Ruhak to the robots. The robots continue squeezing the life out of Scoria, and then Mazikeen proceeds to beat Scoria to death with one of his machine items. Back over to Lucifer and Amenadiel on the battlefield. Amenadiel has Lucifer's heart in his hands. On the magical big screen in the stadium, the demons are watching in awe. Amenadiel tells Lucifer, "All I know of joy has its source and its fruition in this moment. You have given me back my life, Lucifer. I must love you for that." Amenadiel then bites into Lucifer's heart. He devours it and swallows it down. But as soon as he is done, all of a sudden he realizes something is wrong. Amenadiel drops to the ground and yells, "No, no, the heart!" Lucifer says, "I return it to you freely. It belonged to your assassin, and the toxic cherub I bound inside it. That was also yours, I think." So the toxic cherub that Lucifer had in his body that was infecting him, he managed to isolate the cherub's heart, which Amenadiel just ate. And now Amenadiel is infected with that cherub. Amenadiel says to Lucifer, "No, the cherub was Remiel's. Ah, this is what it felt like then? I cannot move." Lucifer tells Amenadiel, "You won't be needing to." Lucifer then stabs his sword into Amenadiel's chest, into Amenadiel's heart, and then Lucifer removes that heart and destroys it, thus winning the duel. The demons in attendance in the stadium yell, "Lucifer, Lord Lucifer, F roll for Lucifer!" Back at the arena, the other demon lords tell Lord Aurochs, "Proclaim Lucifer the victor. It is your privilege, Lord Aurochs." But before Lord Aurochs can do so, the angel Remiel, who controls hell, he arrives, and he says, "No, the privilege is mine. No one here is to move from his place. Secure the dueling ground, Lord Aurochs, and have Lucifer brought to me." Lucifer moments later is brought to Remiel in the center of the stadium. Remiel accuses Lucifer of there being an irregularity in the contest. Remiel says his heart was not present in the arena. This is a breach of the Code Duello, and his life is forfeit. If Lucifer's heart wasn't present for the battle, then how could it be a fair fight? But Lucifer responds, "Ah, so we're playing by the book. Good. I read it too. Look." Lucifer then reveals is in the silver box that Christopher Rudd gave Lord Aurochs, who then gave Amenadiel, that Lucifer's heart was inside it the entire time. By the way, I guess we're learning that angels can live with their heart outside of their body as long as their heart is intact? Now you know. Lucifer continues, "I gave my heart to Amenadiel, and he brought it to the dueling ground for me." Christopher Rudd then chimes in, revealing he was working with Lucifer all along on this ruse, and he says, "I offered this box to Lord Aurochs as a charm to find Lord Lucifer in the arena, and he passed it on to Amenadiel under the pretext of searching him." Lord Aurochs, angry, then points at Christopher and says, "You manipulated me intentionally." Remiel, not wanting to let things go, says, "Nonetheless, Lucifer's heart was not in his own chest. A case could still be made." Lucifer argues, "You'd have me executed on a technicality." Remiel answers, It's a matter of the code, Morningstar. You understand the importance of obedience." As this arguing is going on, we jump back to Mazikeen. Scoria is now dead. Susano has managed to slip away from his bondage, and Susano is trying to escape. Mazikeen is running after him. Susano, he heads to the end of a railing, and below him is the moat of fire. Mazikeen asks for Susano to give her the feathers of Lucifer that hold his power. Susano refuses to do so. Mazikeen, with some chains, throws them and wraps them around Susano's neck. She pulls on the chain, and she swings him over the edge. And then Susano falls into the flames of fire below, along with the feathers that hold Lucifer's power. And when Susano burns up below, and the feathers burn up as well, finally Lucifer's power remotely transfers back over to him. So at that very moment in the arena, Remiel was still arguing that Lucifer cheated and did not deserve to live. But then, all of a sudden, Lucifer's powers flow back into him in a giant explosion of light. Remiel knows that if Lucifer is powered up right now, Remiel does not have much power to punish Lucifer himself. Lucifer, with his power returned, cockily says, "Well, it seems you'll have to find some other solution to your dilemma." Remiel, defeated, responds, "As I was about to say, guards, take Lord Aurochs into custody for treasonous subversion of the Code Duello." In the aftermath of these events, with Lord Aurochs removed from power, his daughter, Lady Lys, has succeeded that throne, and she now rules the province of Ephraim, while Lord Aurochs remains imprisoned. Lucifer then goes to speak with Duma, who helped him in his time of need. Lucifer shakes Duma's hand and says, "There are two of us now who have defied our father's will. I was perfectly comfortable standing alone, of course, but still, that pleases me more than I'd have expected." Duma then holds up 3 fingers, making reference to the fact that the Archangel Michael has also defied God's will. Lucifer to this says, 3 of us? Well, I've been out of touch for a while, Duma, and things are changing fast now. I wonder if he's begun to be afraid yet. Lucifer issue 33, Bearing Gifts. A shopkeeper named Sabah al-Dabag has a customer come into his shop named Zemet. Zemet is secretly a Lilim. She asks for help with her sister's dangerous labor. She's going to give birth. Zemet takes him through a portal into Lucifer's cosmos. There they encounter a creature named Crus. Crus demands an offering to save the child. Sabah is confused, not sure what to offer. And he is scared out of his mind. He doesn't want to give up his life, and he doesn't know what to offer. Should he give his right hand, his legs, the sight from his eyes? And if he dies here, his wife will never know. Zemet asks, what do you think the spirit will delight in? Stop screwing around and offer them something they'll really want. Sabah, who is dying from a tumor, asked, my tumor? Zemet replies, thank you, that will make a lovely offering. So then the weird spirit Crus reached into Sabah and pulled out his tumor. This offering did suffice, and in the end the baby was born, and Sabah was able to leave Lucifer's cosmos and go back home, where he would now live for many more years with his tumor removed. I'll be honest, I don't really know what the point of that issue was, but let's move on to the next one. Lucifer issue 34, Come to Judgment, part 1 of 2. The funeral for Elaine Belloc is held. Some people of note that attend the funeral are Melios, the Archangel Michael, who is Elaine's real angel father. There is also the ghost of David Easterman, who thought he was Elaine's father, but he wasn't, but his wife was her mother. And even though he's dead and a ghost now, he still felt compelled to watch over her. There was also a new character named Solomon. Solomon was the king of Israel in the Old Testament in the Bible. He has apparently survived to the current day, where he lives to deliver justice to people who have escaped it somehow, such as corrupt politicians and criminals who have escaped the law. His mission comes to him in his dreams, which he believes are sent to him by God. Solomon is here at Elaine's funeral to investigate her death, as he dreamt of Elaine and he feels it is his duty to get to the bottom of it. After the funeral, Solomon seems to be on the case. He visits a police station to learn what they know of Elaine's death. He then visits Elaine's adopted parents, Barbara and Matthew Belloc, at their home. When Solomon is in Elaine's bedroom to look around, he notices a small little black bead, which in the Children and Monsters story arc, when Sandalphon gathered up Elaine's spirit grandmothers, he trapped them inside this little black bead. And at the end of that story arc, Elaine's real father, the Archangel Michael, gave Elaine that little bead. And here it is now, sitting on Elaine's desk. Solomon, he grabs this bead, and while Solomon is in the room, he notices the ghost of David Easterman is there. David is surprised that Solomon can see him, as Elaine was the only one before. Solomon tells the ghost, "You're Easterman, the man who claimed to be her father." David answers, "I am her father. Well, okay, not biologically, but my wife was her mother, so I'm the closest she had." Solomon then holds up that black bead and asks, "Do you know what this is?" David answers, "It's Elaine's grandmother's. An angel did that to them." Solomon then places the little ball on the table. David asks, "Who are you?" Solomon answers, "I am Justice. Begin by telling me about the angel." Elsewhere, Jill Presto returns to her normal life, minus her hand, which is still missing. When she returns to the hotel room she was staying at in Las Vegas, it still has all the blood and guts on the floor from when Jill raised Cestus for the Bassinos. Jill, despite being gone for what felt like ages, because she was always in Lucifer's cosmos most of that time, where time moves very different. It has only been about one day in this universe, our universe, which is perhaps a good thing, because maybe Jill can clean some of this mess up. We jump over to Lucifer. Lucifer has to go on another journey. He travels to the center of the earth, where he needs to speak with Loki about a favor he requires. And this is the Norse god version of Loki that we saw in the Sandman comics, not the one you might think of associated with Marvel. Loki is strapped down to the ground down there, while a snake drips venom into his eyes. Loki's wife is by his side with a bowl, and she attempts to capture the venom so it doesn't hurt her husband, and she can save him from some of the pain caused by the venom from the snake. Lucifer, he blows fire out of his mouth and kills the snake, saving Loki from the venom. And then he tells Loki's wife to step away. Lucifer then asks for his favor. He says, "I need the ship for a single voyage. Lend it to me, and I'll come back here and on the day of Ragnarok, and I'll free you." Loki asks, "And carry me up to the deck and hold me high so I can see the depths of the Aesir?" Lucifer answers, "You have my word." Loki then gives some instructions. He says, "Go to my brother who is named Berglamir and tell him I swore in our father's bones that you could have the ship." Lucifer, he bids Loki farewell and begins walking away. As Lucifer is leaving, Loki says, "The Allfather is going to be hugely pissed off about his snake, Lightbringer." Lucifer responds, "Probably. If I were you, I'd keep screaming from time to time. He may never notice the difference." Back over to Elaine Belloc's home. The fallen cherub angel, Gaudium, is there, and he manages to sneak into Elaine's bedroom and steal the little black bead thing that is Elaine's grandmother's. Gaudium then takes off with it, and he manages to grab on to a large jetliner as it is flying above England, and he holds on to that plane and rides it all the way to America. Gaudium then returns to a small apartment he is staying at with his sister, Spira. Gaudium walks through the apartment and enters the main room where the Archangel Michael and Melios are waiting for him. Michael asks, "Gaudium, I am relieved to see you, and you are successful?" Gaudium responds, "If you mean, have you come back with the bag full of crabby old ladies, then yeah, I guess I did okay." Before they can all talk further, all of a sudden Solomon bursts through the front door. Gaudium, annoyed, says, "Ugh, I thought I lost this schmuck." Solomon then says aloud, "Nobody in this room move. I'm Solomon, the son of David, and I am investigating a murder." Lucifer, issue 35, Come to Judgment, part 2 of 2. Solomon interrogates Melios, Gaudium, and Michael, but in the end he determines while all of them are culpable or complicit, ultimately the guilt lies elsewhere, so he leaves them be. Solomon then travels to the tunnels where Elaine died when she was attacked by the Jinn and Mach known as Cestus. Solomon then returns to the Belloc household, where he eventually discovers that Cestus is still trapped in Matthew Belloc's form. She took on his form initially when she abducted Elaine, but now Cestus cannot seem to shake the shape she is in. Cestus, trapped in Matthew Belloc's body, talks with Solomon, She says, "The cards, the basinos, when they gave me substance again, they shackled me out of fear, I suppose. But now I am bound in this shape, trapped. I tried to change down in the tunnel. I've tried since, but I keep slipping back." Cestus says this as she starts clawing at her face in the shape of Matthew Belloc. Cestus continues explaining, "We eat memories as well as flesh, and the longer I stay in his shape, the stronger they become. I'm turning into him. I'm thinking his thoughts." Cestus then begins begging Solomon for death. She grabs Solomon's gun and points it to the middle of her forehead and continues, "I've waited for you to come with your bullets of faith and your heart of fire. I'm guilty. Pass judgment on me." Solomon, he thinks, and eventually puts his gun away, and he leaves. If Cestus is indeed trapped in Matthew's form, well, then that will serve as justice for her crimes. She will be damned to stay in that form forever. Meanwhile, Lucifer travels to the land of giants. He asks some giants there where the location of this Berglamir is, who is Loki's brother. The giants point Lucifer in the direction of a forest. A few leagues hence, Berglamir has a cabin there. When Lucifer arrives in the cabin, he sees an old witch-looking woman. He asks her if Berglamir of Jotun is here. The witch answers no, he has gone far and wide. Lucifer explains that Loki has offered the use of Naglfar, the ship, and he said that Berglamir would know where to find it. The witch responds, "The ship made from the dead man's fingernails? Aye, Berglamir knows of it." The witch promises to take Lucifer to where the ship Naglfar sleeps. But in order to do so, she makes Lucifer promise to do her a favor in return, and he must swear to it. Lucifer, he swears, "I swear to do whatever you ask of me, unless you yourself release me from my oath." So first comes the favor before the witch will give Lucifer what he wants. The witch makes Lucifer walk out into the woods and pick up a special axe there. She then tells Lucifer, "You must look only forward, neither to the left nor right, nor over your shoulder, and turn not your steps, but walk only where I direct you. And when a living thing comes within your sight, you must kill it. The first thing you see that lives and moves. Swear again upon the axe." Lucifer, he does so. They then walk on in the forest. They arrive at a hollow tree, and the witch tells Lucifer to go inside and kill the first thing he sees. The witch tells Lucifer, "Yes, do it. Or shall I say that Lucifer Morningstar was forsworn?" Lucifer then stops in his tracks and he says, "No, I don't think you'll be able to say that." He then tosses the witch aside, and Lucifer, he says, "So, the first living thing I see, in spite of the mirror, I'm afraid that was just you, Berglamir." So it turns out the witch was just Loki's brother, Berglamir, in disguise. He was trying to pull a trick on Lucifer, hoping Lucifer would see his reflection in the mirror and have to kill himself. Berglamir then changes his appearance from the witch into his normal form, and he says to Lucifer, "It was only a joke, Morningstar, a joke only. I've something of my brother's humor after all." Lucifer then forces Berglamir to take him to the ship. Berglamir does so. They walk a little further in the forest. Berglamir questions Lucifer, "Where do you plan to take the ship? To the walls of heaven?" Lucifer answers, "There's nothing in heaven that I need. The journey I have in mind is a longer one, into the mansions of silence. I won't be going by myself. I have a captain and a helmsman lined up already." Eventually, Berglamir arrives where he needed to arrive, and he grabs that special axe and he strikes the ground with it, opening up the earth. The ground then appears to open up, and then we see the ship, Naglfar, and two giants are holding it. Lucifer, now in possession of the ship, is ready to begin another journey on it, which will happen in the next story arc. But for now, we end this volume of Lucifer. All right, so that was volume 5. I thought the Inferno story arc, the 4-issue arc there, was really great. I love a duel, and I loved the build up to that duel with all the scheming going on between Lord Arx, Ramiel, and Amenadiel trying to screw Lucifer over, and all their plotting going on. I liked the little side plot with Mazikeen in the background with Susano and her old husband, and all the stuff going on there. And then when the duel finally happened, it was very epic. The fight between Lucifer and Amenadiel was thrilling, and it was pretty brutal at times. Amenadiel having Lucifer's heart in his hands, but it's not actually his heart. And I like that there was some twists in the story there. And in the end, Lucifer is triumphant, and he wins, and Amenadiel dies, and Susano dies, and yeah, very exciting story arc, and very solid stuff. The next issue was the Bearing Gifts story arc, and that one I did not like. I thought it was kind of a waste of time, and I didn't really get the point of it. So that one was not good. Then we had the 2-issue Come to Judgment story arc, and there's a few things that went down there. We were introduced to the Solomon character, who's kind of like this detective, and he manages to figure out Cestus killed Elaine Belloc, and now Cestus is trapped in Matthew Belloc's body, and that's kind of punishment enough for her. And then we had Lucifer going on setting up his next adventure. He goes to meet with Loki, and he needs some boat, and he needs to go to a place called the Mansions of Silence. So we will see what the Mansions of Silence are in the next story arc, and what Lucifer's going to do with this boat. But all in all, kind of interesting to set some stuff up for the future. Although definitely not as thrilling as the Inferno story arc. But all in all, this was a solid volume. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Inferno was amazing. The rest was a little bit more middling, but still great. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll be back in the future with Lucifer Volume 6.